everybody, Stacy Tyler here with Bubble Baby Custom Fabrics. Today we're going to be sewing Ellie and Max around the block hoodie pattern. This is a great scrap buster. I have some fabric here that was left over from another project, and it is 60 inches wide by 14 inches. And I'm making a size 2T for my daughter. This is a unisex pattern, so you could make it for boys or girls, but I just wanted to use this extra fabric I had, so I chose to do one for my daughter today. So I'm going to be using this cute triangle fabric that I got from Bubble Baby Custom Fabrics. This was the unicorn round that was open, and I'm going to pair it with this beautiful solid color here. Alright, so let's get started.
Okay, so let's talk about the supplies needed to make this pattern. You're going to need the pattern itself. You're going to need printer and paper so that you can print the pattern, and tape or glue to assemble it. To cut everything, you're going to need rotary cutter or scissors. Make sure that you are keeping your fabric rotary cutter or scissors separate from anything else. Your fabric scissors should never cut any paper or anything like that. The quality will be so much better if you just keep a designated pair to cut fabric only. You'll need a sewing machine. Serger and cover stitches machines are optional. You'll need coordinating thread, an iron and ironing board, ballpoint needles. If you'll be doing the grommets, then you'll need 2 grommets and interfacing. If you decided to do the drawstring or accent cord, then you'll need at least 30 inches for that. That is optional as well. And then you'll need your 4-way stretch fabric to sew with. All right, so let's get started. All right. So when you are cutting your pattern pieces, please pay very close attention to especially the upper bodice front and the back pieces. Make sure you're cutting everything with the pattern side up and your fabric facing up. Or if you want the diagonal to go to the other way, then you could do everything facing down. So to make this pattern, you'll need to cut an upper bodice front and back, a middle bodice front and back, a bottom bodice front and back. You'll need 2 of the outer hood pieces and 2 of the liner hood pieces. You'll need to cut 2 for the waistband. You'll need to cut 2 sleeve cuffs. And you'll need to cut 2 different types of sleeves. So the first sleeve, you're going to cut sleeve 1, and you need a top, middle, and bottom. And then you'll need to cut sleeve 2, and you'll also need a top, middle, and bottom. You'll need 2 sets of pockets if you're going to be sewing the pockets. And if you decided to do grommets, then you could also do the grommet patches. So if you want to do that, then you'll need 2 of those. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but you'll need your drawstring. If you haven't cut it already, make sure you cut that out as well if you'll be using it. Okay, so let's get sewing, guys.
First, we're going to be assembling our bodice. So I'm going to get the front, top, middle, and bottom pieces. And I'm just going to line them up before I sew anything. And I just want to make sure that everything lines up. I'm sewing the right pieces because there's so many it could get a little confusing. So for this middle piece, I actually want to use the other side of the fabric, so I'm going to grab my other piece here. Okay. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and sew my top front bodice to my middle front bodice. I'm just going to fold them right sides together. You can definitely pin or clip to keep everything in place if you'd like. You shouldn't have to do any stretching. It should all line up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I will be back. So I've gone ahead and attached the front to the top to the front middle. And what I'd like to do next is go ahead and steam it to get it to lay flat. So I'm going to steam it. And I'm using a serger, but you want to fold up your fabric. You could either go this way. I'm going to go this way since I'm going to be top stitching mine. And I'm using black top stitching thread, so I want it to be on this side. So I'm just going to go ahead and steam my fold here, my seam allowance to go up. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that, and it just kind of smooths everything out. And now I will go to my next piece. I'm going to be sewing on the bottom next. So I want to put them right sides together, and you can pin or clip. And no stretching. And then once you do that, then you'll just need to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. Okay. So I've got it all sewn up. I'm ready to iron. So this piece is going to be up, and I need this piece to go down. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back. So I've gone ahead and ironed it. So if you're not top stitching, then you could just iron it the way that it just goes down. Or if you're top stitching and say that you have this coordinating color thread, then that's fine too. The reason I'm wanting them to go this way is because I have that black thread. So even though it's not staying that way, once I top stitch it will. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch my front bodice, and I will be back. Okay, so now I have my front bodice piece, and I'm going to do my back bodice piece. So I laid it out, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. So we're going to start with our top, back. Let me iron this out a little bit. Sometimes when you get to the edges of fabric, it curls over, but it sews up fine. You'll see in my final version. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance to sew this together, and I will be back. Alright, so I've gone ahead and stitched it together. I've cover stitched it in the back so that my seam is just tacked down. And then I'm going to do the bottom back to the bottom middle using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I will do that, and I will be back. Okay, so here's my back piece. I've sewn the bodice pieces together, and then I cover stitched. You can also top stitch with just a regular sewing machine using a zigzag stitch. So there's my back, and here's my front piece. Okay, so when they're right sides together, the line should match up there. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and assemble the sleeves. So make sure you lay out your sleeves before you start sewing anything. Make sure that your fabric's facing the right way. You want everything facing up. There's that natural curl my fabric has even after I iron it. I don't want to like press with starch, because then it's going to stretch my fabric, and my when I go to match it up, it won't fit. So I'm just going to leave it with that natural curl, and it'll be fine once everything's sewn up. Alright, so I want to make sure that my fabrics are all facing the right way. So here is my sleeve. Actually, this is sleeve 2. And this is my sleeve style 1. So that's the side I want up. Okay. Alright. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my sleeve style 1. This one's really curly, but it's fine. And I'm just going to line it up here. And then when I go to sew it, I'm just going to uncurl. Okay, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance to attach these pieces together, and I will be back. Okay, so here is my sleeve 1, all stitched together and cover stitched. This part's still curling up, but that's all right. Okay, I'm going to go to my sleeve 2. I guess I cut this one on the curly end as well. I guess they're all kind of curly. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing with my sleeve 2, and I will be back. All right. Okay, so I have my sleeves done. I have my sleeve 1 and my sleeve 2, and I have my front and my back bodice done. I've gone ahead and transferred the pocket start points. So if you're going to be sewing on pockets, go ahead and make sure you transferred those if you haven't already. Okay, so this is where my pocket's going to start. And the pocket's going to actually go to the bottom. So it's really going to be right there at the bottom, okay? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch from here to here on. And I'm going to do that to both sides. So once again, right sides facing together. Where my placement mark is where my pocket's going to start. And it's literally going to be to the edge of the bottom of my panel piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew those together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I will be back. Okay, so once you're done, you're going to be putting the front and the back bodice right sides together. And we're going to sew here at the top of the shoulder. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's do that. And I will be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewn my front and back bodice pieces together. Now I want to do the sleeves. So first I'm just gonna push my fabric this way so everything's facing the way it would if it was completely sewn. And although these sleeves are numbered, I still like to hold them up to make sure I'm putting them on the right side just before I stitch. So there we go. These are my sleeves, and I know this one's going to go on this side and this one's going to go on this side. So for now I'm going to put one to the side. I'm going to mark my middle on the one I'm about to sew. So make sure it's folded completely in half. So you get an even middle marker here. Okay. There we go. So here's our middle. Okay. And it's going to go on this side. So I'm just going to make sure I don't get anything mixed up. Alright, put a little clip there. Okay, so now I want to put my sleeves right sides together. And the middle of my sleeve should go where I just did that shoulder seam. Okay. Alright. When I go to sew, I'm going to get the edge of the curve. So here's your curve. And here's my edge. And I'm just going to put it at the edge. So now I'm ready to sew. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I will be back. Okay, so here's the sleeve I just sewed on. See how it matches nicely here. And then once it is all sewn together, it's going to go along with this diagonal right here. Okay. All right, so let's get ready to sew our second sleeve. So I just want to do the same thing, make sure it's folded perfectly in half and mark my middle. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay. And then I have one sleeve left to sew, so I know where to put that one on at. Alright, and then I'm just gonna get my edges here and clip those together. I'm making a size 2T, so I don't have a lot to work with on this side, but it'll be fine. I'll just sew slowly. Alright. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stitch that together using 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I will be back. Okay, and there's my second sleeve all sewn on. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put the pieces right sides together. And if you did pockets, we're going to align up the pockets, align all the seams. Okay. If you are doing pockets, then you're going to want to sew from the top of your sleeve down, around and up your pocket, and then down the side. If you're not doing pockets, then you just need to sew from the top of your sleeve all the way down. Okay, so let's do that to both sides and then I will be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead, so I've gone ahead and sewed down both of my sides here. So now I can turn it inside out, or right side out. So grab up my shoulder seams and kind of give it a little shake and push my pockets in. Here's some fabric that got stuck, sandwiched into between the fabrics. That's okay. I'll just snip it off. Okay. Okay, my pockets look good. I have some more thread sandwiched in there, so I'm going to snip those. Alright, so there we go. Everything looks good. Everything matches up great. Next, we're going to go put on our sleeve cuffs. So this is the sleeve cuff. You're just going to want to sew down right here. I did one already, and then once you do that, you're going to want to flip this, fold it in half actually. So, here, I think I was out of camera view, so let me do that again. Just fold it in half here, have these pieces meet up. Probably hear my son in the other room watching a show. Sorry about that. Okay. Alright, so once I have my cuff folded in half, I'm going to take the part where my seam is and match it up with one side. It doesn't matter which side you want to do first. Match it up with the seam here. And I'm going to insert it like over the fabric, like this. And then I'm going to align those seams here. Kind of just get the edges to meet up. All right. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and sew those pieces together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I will do that and I will be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewn those. Now I have these tails. So there's multiple ways you could do that. I like to snip about a 2-inch length and get a seam ripper, or I use this silhouette hook for my silhouette. And then we're just gonna take those stitches out. This is only if you're using a serger. If you're not using a serger, you just want to make sure you back stitch on your regular machine and you're using that zigzag stitch. Okay, so there we go. Here's my sleeve cuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other side, and then I'll come back and we'll do the waistband. Okay, so I have both of my cuffs on. So next we're going to do the neckband, or I'm sorry, the waistband. So I have my 2 waistband pieces here. I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance on either side, and I'll do that and be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewed my sides. So now I'm going to put wrong sides together. Okay. I'm going to get my sweater and I'm going to put the raw ends, basically the raw ends are going to be touching. So I'm going to put this band, I'll put my arms in here like this, or my hands, and put the band in like that. I'm going to match up the side seams, but I want to make sure I'm not hitting the pockets I installed because those do go down. So I'm just going to push the pocket up and pin or clip. And here's the pocket here. So I just want to make sure that my pocket's tucked in nice away from where I'm going to be stitching so I don't accidentally stitch my pocket in. Okay, so I finished my waistband. I'm just going to tie off my tail here since I used my serger. Once again, if you zigzag, then you could just back stitch if you use if you use a regular sewing machine. Okay. So I sewed on my waistband, slightly stretching it as I was sewing. Let me cut this part off. And all we have left to do is the hood. So let's take a look at what we have here. It's looking cute. All right. Okay. So for the hood pieces, there is a grommet option. And if you're going to be doing the grommet option, you're going to need to I'm going to set this to the side. You're going to need to transfer your markings. I'm going to do, I should be recording this way so that you guys can see better. I'm going to try it this time, okay? Hopefully it doesn't confuse me since I'm backward here. Alright, so I'm not going to show my full pattern piece, but on your hood you have your grommet markings if you're going to be doing the grommets. What I like to do is get a seam ripper and just poke holes in all the corners. So I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm going to get my water soluble pen. Now, this is going to be, let's see, I'm backwards here. So this is going to be my left side of my hood. And this is going to be my right side of my hood. So my overlap, so I want the lower, let's see, the lower one is going to be on the hood. Okay. So this side's gonna be, where I want my higher grommet piece. So I'm just gonna turn this over because my fabric's too dark to mark. And I'm just gonna transfer the higher grommet part over. Okay. So if I just scribble over where I made those holes, it's going to transfer through. Okay. So I've transferred my grommet markings. And I've cut a patch for this tutorial. 1 inch by 1 inch, and I want my patch to go over that marking there. Okay, so it's gonna be, there's my corner piece here. Okay, there's my other corner, and I'm just gonna make sure that these are lining up right. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to sew this part on. I just use a straight stitch. You could do zigzag if you want, but straight stitch, I've never had problems with this. Using a straight stitch on this part. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewed my patches on both hood sides. This is only going to need to be done on the outer hood. Now I'm going to get my stabilizer, and I'm just going to iron it on to the back there. Okay, so now I'm going to get ready to apply my grommets. I'm using these grommet pliers I got from Amazon. I will post the link so you guys have it. And then I'm using a 3/8 inch grommets. So this is a 3/8 inch grommet pliers, and these are my 3/8 inch grommets. So I've ironed on my stabilizer. Some fabrics won't need this depending on how thick it is. I'm doing a hood here, so mine does need it. And the first thing you want to do is there's 2 pieces shaped like this. I'm not quite sure what they're called. But what you want to do is grab your smaller one, okay? And we'll put that in one of these gray holes on the tip of your pliers. And then your other one looks like a cone, I guess. There's like a little cone. You're going to want to put that on the other side of your pliers, okay? And what this is going to do is it's going to hole punch your fabric. So I'm going to get my fabric, and where I want my grommet to be, I'm just going to make a little hole punch. So I want it to be right in the middle there. I hear a click. I'll take it off, and there we go. Having that stabilizer on there helped do this. If it was just stretchy material, it might not do this as well. So I need to do this to 2 spots. So I'm going to do another one right here in the center of this square. Okay. Just checking to make sure no other material is caught anywhere. I don't want to be poking holes and stuff that doesn't need to be poked. Okay, so now when I'm done with this hole punching portion of my set, I'm just going to take this little tool here and see this hook right here? This, like the lip of this hook, hooks on right here. And then this goes, the long pull here goes right here. So the middle pull is actually what's going to push the piece out so that I could switch out my piece. See that? I'm going to do it again to the other side. So I'm going to put that little hook right in the groove there. And I'm going to push out my piece. There we go. Now to actually apply the grommet, you're going to want to use this piece here. It's like a smooth, kind of smooth piece. And you're going to use your bigger, I'm going to call it a diamond. And put that in. Okay, I'm going to open up my grommets here. Oops. And I'll put all these tools aside since I'm done with these. Oh, one thing I did want to point out really quickly is with this hole punching piece, you do need to clean out the fabric in it. You could just use a pin to do that. Okay, otherwise it's just going to get all built up. Okay. Alright, so when applying your grommets, you want, you're going to have two sides to your grommet. One's going to be flat, sorry for the camera shaking. One's going to be flat, and then one's going to have a little lip on it, like this one does. So this is the part that's going to be showing on your garment on the outside. So this is the part I want to stick through this hole here. So I'll just go all the way through, and it's going to come out the other side like that. And I'll get my flat piece and put it on top. Now the pink part, the more flat part of my pliers, I want to be on the bottom where the piece that'll be showing is going to be. And then this part, the more diamond shaped part, I want to push on top, and this is just going to squeeze everything together. There we go. So my grommet is done. It's on there, guys. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So my piece, the grommet with the lip part of it, I'm going to put through this hole. Okay, flip it over. And then my flat part, I'm going to put on top. Oops, I have two flat pieces there. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to squish those together. Okay. And now that is on there. Okay. Alright, so now for my hood, I'm going to put right sides together on my hood. And my fabric's kind of curly here. And I'm going to sew all along here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do that to the inner and the outer piece, and I will be back. So now I have my front, or my outer and my inner hood pieces, and then I've also cut a piece 2 inches by 12 inches for an accent tie that I'm going to be doing. So first I want to put my hood right sides together,
And I'm going to match up the seam at the top and just put them right sides together. Okay, just like this, and over here. And I'm going to stitch all around this top part, all the way around. Being careful that I have grommets here. Don't let your needle run over these. That would not be good. Okay, I'm gonna do that and I will be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewn around the top part of my hood, so I'm just gonna turn everything inside out. And this is looking so cute. It's optional to top stitch, but if you are going to top stitch, just make sure you get all the fabric aligned nicely where you just sewed. And then all you're gonna do is just use a cover stitch or your normal machine with a zigzag stitch and just sew all along that seam you just sewed, just to hold the fabric in place so that when you're wearing it, it's not everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch mine, and I will be back. And then this part here, okay, this is gonna be my accent string. So we're just gonna fold this right sides together and stitch along the long raw edge there, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and assembled my accent piece. I tied 3 knots in it so that it doesn't pull through when I pull it through a grommet. It doesn't pull through. My hood is going to overlap like this. So the part that has the grommet at the highest point of the hood is where I want to insert my accent string first. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and measure how much my overlap should be first, and I'm going to mark it on my hood. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that. So this just tells me when I'm ready to overlap my hood, I need to put this corner as far as this clip goes, which is right there. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there, and I'm going to insert this in between my inner and my outer liner through the grommet, and it doesn't pull through. And then I'm going to flip this over and put this point where it needs to go and reclip. And then I'm just going to push this through this grommet piece. Make sure nothing's twisted. Give it plenty of space. And then I could sew my knot here, but actually I'm just gonna go ahead and sew it in to my hood. So I'm gonna clip that piece where I want it. Okay. Alright, now I wanna find the front and back of my hood. So what I do is take where your seam is, this is gonna be your back. And you just fold the fabric in half. And then wherever your center point is where your middle is. So let me use actually a green. A green clip will mean center of the fabric. Okay. So the green is my center. I'm going to find the front and center of my shirt. Okay, And I'm going to turn my shirt inside out. Pull the sleeves through so that they don't get caught in any seams. That would just be terrible if you sewed through your sleeves. You'd have to start all over. And then I'm going to insert my hood so that right sides are facing together, and make sure that your hood's the right way. So this is my lower neckline, which means it's my front. And this is where I want this is the front of my hood. So I want this green clip to match this clip when I insert it. Alright, and then I'll match my back clips. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew this on using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I will be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and attached my hood. Now I'm going to turn everything right side out, and we'll see how everything looks. Okay, here it is. Our awesome hoodie. I think it turned out so cute, you guys. Let me see if I could get, there we go. All right, I absolutely love this grommet detail, the accent string, everything about it. And I hope my daughter does too. I can't wait to try it on her. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and just remember to subscribe for updates, and I can't wait to see yours. Please show them to me. I would love to see them.